Everything you desire is already there, waiting for you, but you can't see it because you are trapped in the obsession to control everything. We've been taught that success is a struggle, that happiness is pursued, that life is built with effort and sacrifice. But what if it were the other way around? What if the real key was in letting go, in allowing life to flow, in understanding that the more we try to hold on, the further we move away from what we really want? Today, you're going to hear about how this invisible principle that governs the universe works, and how, when you learn to align with it, everything in your life begins to transform without resistance. Success is not measured in visible achievements, those that we are taught to reach for at all costs. A promotion, a medal, and approval. Instead, success could be an inner experience, much more connected to our essence, a natural manifestation of who we really are. This vision of success, which is not based solely on physical and mental effort, is somewhat revolutionary, yet profoundly liberating. It invites us to question a narrative that has been imposed for generations, which has led many to live a life of constant struggle, seeking recognition outside of themselves, but which ultimately leaves gaps that nothing in the material world can fill. In fact, many of humanity's great achievements came not from unwavering persistence in the traditional sense, but from a deep understanding of a universal principle that is present, even if we don't see it, but we do feel it. Instead of wearing themselves out trying to force things, those who understood this principle knew that what happens to us in life, both good and bad, is the result of a dance with unseen forces that govern our destiny. Abundance, success, inner peace, everything has a pattern, something far greater than any material goal we can set for ourselves. The idea that the universe is governed by spiritual laws is not new, but it can be transformative if we truly begin to live from that understanding. Imagine for a moment how it would change the way we work, the way we pursue our goals, if instead of pushing with our whole being, we allow ourselves to become attuned to these laws. Like a current in the sea, it is not about swimming against the current, but about understanding the flow and letting ourselves be carried along by it with confidence, knowing that each wave brings us closer to our destination. And this understanding does not imply giving up on our dreams or desires. On the contrary, it invites us to see how those desires can manifest more easily when we stop fighting against what we cannot control. Einstein, with his ability to challenge the established norms of science, also understood this principle. His quote about the mind and the parachute is more than a play on words. It is a reminder that to discover new ideas, to create something truly innovative, we need to open our minds to the invisible, to what is unstructured and undefined by our current limitations. And this applies not only to science, but to any field of life. True creativity, that constant flow of inspiration, comes when we align ourselves with something greater, with a stream of wisdom that goes beyond the visible. Look at history and you will see examples of people who, by connecting with these invisible laws, achieved the extraordinary. These individuals were not necessarily the hardest workers or the most ambitious in the traditional sense, but those who understood that true success is not a destination, but a way of being. This is the kind of success that is found in balance, in the recognition that everything we seek is already present, we just need to open ourselves to receive it. In this way, success has nothing to do with the accumulation of achievements or material goods. True success, the one that really transforms, is the result of living in harmony with life, of not forcing things but allowing them to arise in due time, with the confidence that the flow of life will take us exactly where we need to be. This kind of success is universal, accessible to all who dare to align themselves with the fundamental truth of existence. What we are and what is destined for us is already in the process. We just have to learn to walk with it, calmly, wisely. The very essence of our existence lies in a seemingly simple but profoundly revolutionary concept: pure potentiality. This concept invites us to understand that in the depths of our being, we are an inexhaustible energy, full of infinite possibilities, capable of creating, transforming, and manifesting everything we desire. However, this energy is not limited by what happens on the outside, nor by the barriers we believe we have. The true force lies within us, waiting to be recognized and released. Connecting with this essence is, without a doubt, the first step towards a transformed life, where the limitations that we previously perceived disappear, and we realize that we are not subject to circumstances. To connect with this inner power, it is crucial to understand the distinction between what we call internal reference and external reference. The inner reference is that deep state of connection with our essential self, a part of us that is calm without the fears that often dominate our decisions. It is in this space where our true energy manifests itself, where life flows naturally and unhindered, like a river that flows effortlessly. In contrast, the external reference is the one that makes us define ourselves through what is outside of us, the opinions of others, social expectations, or material achievements. Those who operate from this reference point live seeking validation, feeling the pressure of external judgment, which generates an endless cycle of insecurity and fear. This disconnection from our essential self distances us from our true nature, plunging us into a constant search for something that, in reality, we can never find outside of ourselves. It is when we identify with our true essence, when we begin to live from the inner reference, that fear and struggle fade away. And it is then that we experience a profound liberation. The stress of controlling the future or clinging to the past dissolves, and we discover that life, in its purity, does not need our constant interventions. This state of self-reference represents not only a liberation, but also a profound humility. The realization that we do not need anything external to feel complete. Peace is not something we seek outside, but something that already resides within us, waiting to be discovered. On the other hand, those who are driven by external reference often fall into the trap of a persistent illusion. They seek to fill internal voids through external validation, whether in the form of material achievement, recognition, or belonging. But deep down, this quest only reinforces the emotional void, as the satisfaction that comes from the external is ephemeral and can never fulfill the need for genuine connection with ourself. In this state, fear and the need for control take over the mind, creating a life of constant performance and pretense. Authentic inner peace remains unattainable as long as we remain trapped in this illusion that we need something outside of ourselves to be whole. The law of pure potentiality is fascinating precisely because it teaches us that everything we desire is already available to us, but only when we are in the right state of openness and receptivity. Success and abundance do not come from excessive effort, but from the realization that we are capable of attracting into our lives everything we need. The universe is full of infinite possibilities, waiting to be manifested, but we can only access them when we align our mind and emotions with our essence. This understanding frees us from constant struggle, allowing us to live with greater fluidity and serenity without the need to force our way. One of the most powerful means to connect with this potentiality is silence. In a world oversaturated with noise and distractions, the act of silencing the outside and pausing to simply be can be revelatory. It's not just about stopping talking, but disconnecting from the constant external influences, the expectations of others, the visual and audio stimuli that bombard us daily. Silence becomes a sacred space where we can listen to our inner voice, the one that never lies and always guides us to who we really are. It is in those moments of stillness that we find the clarity and peace needed to align ourselves with our essential being. And it is only when we truly understand that everything we need is already within us that we begin to see the world with different eyes. Possibilities open up, the unattainable becomes attainable, and our surroundings reflect the inner transformations we have achieved. By embracing pure potentiality, we discover that life does not have to be a constant battle. Success, peace, and abundance are already within us, waiting to be manifested when we open ourselves to receive them. With each moment of silence and reflection, we connect with this deep and powerful truth, which guides us to a life that is richer, fuller, and more aligned with who we truly are. There is something profoundly transformative in the act of giving, a quiet power that transcends the physical and goes to the very heart of our existence. It is not just the benefits we generate for others, but the circulation of energy that this act creates, an energy that is ultimately reflected in our own lives. We live in a universe of constant exchange. Everything from our thoughts to the relationships we cultivate is in constant flux. This flow of giving and receiving is not simply a matter of material transactions. It is an energetic exchange that connects us to the abundance of the universe, reminding us that everything is interconnected and that what we give somehow comes back to us multiplied. It is fundamental to understand that the true value of giving lies not in what we give, but in the intention and energy that mobilizes that act. Often we focus on the tangible, the object, the material gift, the concrete action. But what really has power is the energy with which we give. When we give out of obligation expecting something in return, what we transmit is not generosity, but a form of energy that creates more lack and need. However, when what we give comes from a genuine place, from a deep desire to see the other person happy, that energy is multiplied. At that moment, the act of giving not only benefits the recipient, but initiates a cycle of abundance that flows freely among all involved. A simple but telling example of this power is a genuine compliment, a smile that expects nothing in return, a kind word. Often such small gestures have a far more profound impact than any material object. Think of that moment when someone randomly smiles at you or says something positive. Maybe it wasn't what you were expecting, but something inside you is lifted, as if a spark of light is ignited within you. These kinds of gifts, though not tangible, have the power to transform your day, and, with it, your perspective. And the wonderful thing about it all is that, as you practice this kind of generosity, the universe seems to respond in kind. Each gesture of gratitude opens the door to receive more of the same, creating a cycle of generosity and abundance. True wealth is not only in the material. In fact, it is often the more intangible gifts that truly nourish our lives. Love, understanding, empathy, caring, unconditional help. These are the gifts that truly enrich the soul, and the more we give them, the more they abound in our lives. The process of giving not only expands the life of the one who receives, but the life of the one who gives. Since as we share the best of ourselves, our capacity to receive also increases. It is a cycle of continuous expansion, where the act of giving allows us to grow, evolve, and experience the fullness of life. However, this flow is interrupted when we try to hold on to what we have, when we close ourselves off from the natural process of exchange. True wealth, both internal and external, comes from the ability to allow the flow of giving and receiving to occur naturally, without reservation or expectation. Generosity, when lived authentically, is not conditioned on what we receive, but on the joy of giving by the simple act of sharing our essence with others. This principle connects deeply with the universal law of karma, that law of cause and effect that governs not only our actions, but the energy field we generate through our decisions. Life is not a succession of random events. Every action has a consequence. Every thought creates a vibration in the universe. What we give to the world, in energy, words, or actions, comes back to us multiplied. If we sow joy, love, and success in others, those same fruits return to us in ways we cannot always anticipate, but which undoubtedly enrich us. Karma is not just an abstract concept or spiritual belief. It is a practical law that we can consciously apply in every moment of our lives. It reminds us that every action, every word, and every choice are seeds we sow in the universe, and those seeds will determine what we reap. Sometimes we act without being fully conscious of our decisions, letting ourselves be carried away by routine or daily pressures. But when we become aware of our ability to generate positive energy, our choices become powerful tools to transform our lives. Every moment is an opportunity to sow something that, in time, will be returned to us in abundance. In the end, everything we experience today is the direct result of the choices we made in the past, the actions we take, the energy we share, the words we express, create an energy field that returns to us in proportion. Karma is not a punitive force, but a principle that reflects the interconnectedness of all things. Every choice, no matter how small, has an impact on our reality, and therefore has the power to transform it. If we are aware of this power and act with intentionality and generosity, we can create a life filled with abundance, peace, and gratitude. A life that flows in harmony with the universe and with who we truly are. There is something deeply fascinating about the way nature operates. Everything happens with a grace and fluidity that seems beyond effort. A tree grows without having to think about it, a river flows without resistance, and a flower blooms without doubting its capacity. This naturalness, this flowing without forcing things, is a profound lesson of life itself. If we can understand this principle and apply it to our lives, we may discover that the way we achieve our goals and dreams need not be a constant struggle, but rather a dance with the natural rhythm of existence. Nature does not strive to be, it simply is, and its manifestation is perfect in its simplicity. The law of least effort teaches us that true success is not about forcing or striving for something, but about aligning ourselves with our essential nature. Just as a river follows its course without having to question its direction, when we allow ourselves to flow with life, things happen much more easily and harmoniously. This principle does not invite us to do less just to avoid effort, but to do what is necessary, just enough, to make things happen without resistance. Dreams materialize without the pressure of having to exert ourselves beyond what we are, and goals are achieved organically, without the need to force the process. This concept, far from being something modern or exclusive to any particular philosophy, has deep roots in ancient wisdom. In Vedic science and Indian philosophical system, there is talk of the economy of effort, a revolutionary idea that invites us to do less in order to achieve more. It is as if the universe, when understood in its natural flow, guides us toward our goals in a more efficient way, without having to fight against the current. When we understand this principle, we discover that our actions can have extraordinary results without inordinate effort. In reality, constant effort and struggle are often symptoms of not being aligned with what we truly desire, and the universe, like nature, always favors fluidity. To achieve this state of minimal resistance, it is essential to live in harmony with our true essence. Action should not come from fear or obligation, but from love and authenticity. When we act from a genuine place, our energy becomes magnetic, creating a positive resonance with everything around us. Love, as a unifying force, connects everything in the universe, and when we move with that energy, things just flow, like waves moving effortlessly through the ocean. The key is not to do more, but to do what truly resonates with our deepest being. The law of least effort is not a principle that can be applied forcefully, but it does have three fundamental components that help us put it into practice. The first of these components is acceptance, a deep understanding that everything in life has a reason for being. Accepting what is, without resisting people, situations, or circumstances as they present themselves, does not mean being passive, but rather understanding that excessive effort and struggle only generate more conflict. Acceptance invites us to see things as they are, without trying to force them to be different, and in doing so, we allow the natural flow of life to continue its course. The second component is responsibility. It is not about taking blame, but about taking responsibility for our energy and our reactions. We are solely responsible for how we respond to what happens in our lives. By becoming aware of our ability to decide our reaction to any circumstance, we take back our power, and the struggle becomes a choice. True responsibility is accepting that it is our decisions and actions that determine the quality of our life, not external circumstances. The third component is helplessness, a concept that may seem paradoxical, but is crucial to understanding this principle. Helplessness here does not refer to inability, but to freedom from the impulse to constantly defend ourselves or to justify our decisions. It is an act of full trust in oneself and in life itself. By letting go of the need to protect our ego, we open the space for positive energy to flow freely, without blockages or limitations. What is most interesting is that many of the events we commonly consider miraculous or fortunate are actually the result of living in harmony with this law. What appears to be a stroke of luck or an inexplicable outcome may simply be the product of perfect alignment with the universal flow. As we let ourselves go with the flow of life and act from our deepest being, the universe responds with its own magic, as if it were guiding us with an invisible map to what we need. What once seemed beyond our reach presents itself to us with bewildering ease. The law of least effort is not about doing less for the sake of doing less, but about doing more with less. It is about releasing stress, acting with clear and loving intention, and allowing things to happen without forcing them. By applying this principle, we shed the unnecessary weight we carry through our expectations and desires, and align ourselves with what we really want. This is a profound, simple, yet revolutionary principle that has the potential to radically change the way we live, work, and above all, manifest our dreams with greater ease and fulfillment. What we often fail to understand is that our ability to manifest our deepest desires and dreams is intimately connected to the invisible forces operating around us. Everything in nature is based on two fundamental principles: energy and information. These forces not only constitute the essence of everything we see, touch, or experience, but are also present in the deepest corners of the universe. As human beings, we have the extraordinary ability to connect with this energy and use it to shape our reality, without realizing that in doing so, we are not only trying to get what we want, but we are actively participating in the process of organizing the cosmos itself. It is a profound act, a reminder of our connection to everything around us. This process of converting energy and information into something tangible in our lives is not a mystery of quantum physics, nor an esoteric idea disconnected from everyday reality. It is, in fact, deeply linked to two essential qualities of human consciousness: attention and intention. Attention is the focus that directs our energy toward a goal, while intention is what organizes that energy to make the goal come true. Somehow, our minds have the power to attract and organize events, people, and circumstances in space-time in such a way that what we desire materializes. This is an amazing power, something that might be easier to understand if we stopped seeing reality as static and began to see it as a dynamic field, malleable by our consciousness. Imagine for a moment that, by putting all your attention on something, that thing begins to come alive around you. This process is not just a thought. It is not just an intention in the air. It is a tangible, energetic process that initiates a series of events that align to make what you desire materialize. Quantum science, although still in its discovery stages, speaks of something very similar. The idea that our consciousness has the ability to influence the quantum field, altering reality based on how we perceive the world and the energy we project into it. It is as if we are unknowingly creating reality from within, rewriting the laws of the universe with every thought and feeling. The most powerful thing about this is the connection between attention and intention. It is as if these two elements were the cosmic forces that mobilize all that exists. When our intention aligns with our attention, we activate an infinite field of possibilities. This conjunction becomes the mechanism through which we create what we desire, from the smallest to the largest. It is as if, in that moment, we are ordering the chaos of the universe, giving it form and structure through our consciousness. This relationship not only applies to what we wish to achieve, but is also reflected in the very biology of our body. Every cell, every fiber of our being responds to the same organizing logic of consciousness, our attention and our intention. To access this infinite organizing power, it is necessary to learn to interact with it consciously. This process does not occur through an external effort, but through an internal, deep, and deliberate focus. We must learn to create space in our mind, to seek the silence between thoughts, because it is in that space that pure energy manifests. It is that place of stillness, of emptiness, that allows our intentions to flourish without external interference. It is in that silence that magic begins to emerge. This is not an abstract concept. It is the very seed of all that we can achieve, a space of purity that connects us to the source of all that is possible. From that space of silence and purity, our intentions can be planted as seeds of potentiality, which will grow in due time. However, like all seeds, these intentions need time to develop, and we must learn to release the desire to control the when and the how. This is one of the greatest challenges of being human, to relinquish control. When we do, we release the natural flow of the universe, allowing things to align in the most perfect way possible. By letting go of the need to control the outcome, we free ourselves from the weight of expectation and allow the universe to do its work, guiding us toward what we really need. It is fascinating how these principles not only apply at the level of human consciousness, but are also reflected in nature itself. Human beings, trees, mountains, water, we are made up of the same fundamental elements: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, among others. This symbolic connection between us and the natural world is a constant reminder of how everything in the universe is interconnected, functioning under the same laws and principles. By understanding this, we can begin to see our lives not as isolated, but as an integral part of a vast and perfectly organized system. Each part of our existence is intertwined with the rest of the cosmos, like the branches of a tree that, although seemingly separate, are united at the root. When we begin to align ourselves with this universal energy, we become able to live more fluidly, trusting that everything we need is already available to us, waiting to be recognized. This shift in perspective allows us to move with the same ease as nature, where things happen at the right time, effortlessly, without unnecessary struggle. By putting our attention on what we truly desire, keeping our intention clear, and allowing the universe to take care of the rest, we open ourselves to a flow that is not only natural, but also profoundly transformative. Attachment, that inner force that drives us to cling to something in desperation, is one of the deepest limitations we face when trying to achieve what we truly desire. In its paradox, we discover that in order to get what we want, we must give up the desire to control it completely. This principle, known as the Law of Detachment, not only invites us to let go of our rigid expectations about outcomes, but also teaches us to release the pressure we constantly impose on ourselves by clinging to a single predefined path to achieve our goals. True freedom, and with it true creation, only arises when we are willing to let go, to allow life to flow on its own terms. It is important to understand that detachment does not mean abandoning the desire or intention to achieve something, but rather to free ourselves from the need for everything to unfold exactly as we had planned. Attachment, which often arises from a belief in scarcity or lack of control over our circumstances, keeps us trapped in a mindset of lack. We think that what we have is not enough, that the universe owes us something, or that we must control every aspect of our lives to get what we want. This feeling of scarcity is directly connected to fear and anger, which limit us and keep us from the abundance that is available in every moment. In contrast, detachment is an awareness of abundance, a deep belief that the true flow of life comes when we are willing to let go, to release what we think we possess and allow something better to flow to us. Take the example of someone who is constantly searching for the perfect job. This person clings to the idea that only a job with specific conditions and a specific salary will bring happiness and success. However, by clinging so tightly to that limited vision, he loses sight of the other opportunities that come his way. Detachment does not mean abandoning the desire to have a good job or achieve financial stability, but being willing to explore different paths and accepting that the future holds many more possibilities than we imagine. Not everything has to fit into an exact formula to be fulfilling or successful. By letting go, we free up the space for the most appropriate and surprising solutions to emerge. The law of detachment, far from being an obstacle to our goals or aspirations, allows us to explore with freedom. It frees us from the burden of needing to control the how and the when, and in doing so, allows us to open ourselves to a much wider range of solutions. Opportunities, rather than appearing as something forced, develop much more naturally when we stop pursuing them, and instead give them space to unfold spontaneously. When we try to impose a rigid solution to a problem, we often succeed in creating new obstacles, closing doors that could have opened a much simpler way. Detachment teaches us to be flexible, adaptive, and to see each situation as an opportunity to grow and learn without being tied to a single outcome. It invites us to trust the process of life, understanding that the path to our goals can be as valuable as the goal itself. One of the most effective ways to practice detachment is to allow ourselves and others the freedom to be who we really are. This means letting go of expectations about how people should act or how situations should unfold. When we let go of clinging to a fixed idea of what should be, we open ourselves to the new possibilities that arise, to the magic of the unexpected. Life has a fascinating way of surprising us when we stop controlling every detail. It is also essential to accept that uncertainty is a fundamental part of the human experience. The more comfortable we become with the uncertain, the more easily we can recognize the spontaneous solutions that emerge as we move forward. Living with uncertainty does not mean being lost or aimless, but recognizing that the path reveals itself step by step, and that every unexpected turn may be an opportunity in disguise. In our daily lives, practicing detachment means letting go of trying to control every aspect of what happens and allowing things to flow on their own. The past no longer has power over us. What we did yesterday can no longer be changed. The future remains uncertain, and although we may have an idea of what we want, the present moment is the only one we can truly transform. By focusing on what we can do here and now, we let the energy flow freely. It is in this present, in the here and now, where our true capacity for action and transformation resides. By releasing control, we find the true magic of life, the ability to create without limits, without fear, and with total freedom, knowing that the universe will respond to our openness with the fullness we deserve. Every person in the world has a deep purpose, a unique reason for being that he or she is destined to fulfill in his or her life. This purpose is not an abstract concept or something random that arises without direction. It is deeply connected to our most genuine abilities, those talents that define us and fill us with fulfillment. Life isn't just about passing through existence. It's an opportunity to discover who we really are, to live in accordance with our most authentic selves, and, through that authenticity, contribute to the world in a meaningful way. By understanding this, we stop seeing our life as something that just happens and begin to see it as a mission, a journey of constant self-discovery, where each step brings us closer to the true version of ourselves. The concept of life purpose is as old as humanity's deepest philosophies. In the Indian tradition, we speak of dharma, a Sanskrit term that refers to the reason we exist, to the unique destiny we must fulfill. We are not in this world just to exist passively, but to fulfill something that resonates with our deepest essence, something that only we can offer. Every human being has something unique to contribute, and when that talent is placed at the service of others, a genuine connection with the universe is created. This act of giving not only generates a positive impact on those around us, but also fills us with abundance, both material and spiritual, creating a synergy between our personal lives and the world around us. Dharma law, therefore, is not an abstract concept, but a constant call to action. A reminder that we all possess something unique that only we can offer. Sometimes we discover this talent early in life, but other times it can take years or even a lifetime to realize what it is we are meant to do. What really matters is to understand that, at every moment of our existence, we have the ability to access that part of ourselves that is meant to shine. This talent is not only destined for our personal fulfillment, but is intertwined with the needs of the world. When we align who we are with what the world needs, we create a perfect harmony that fills us with purpose and fulfillment, a deep connection between our inner self and the environment around us. It is interesting to reflect on the fact that, although we all have unique talents, these talents are not meant just for us. They are gifts that must be shared, for the true meaning of our existence is found not in withholding who we are, but in offering them to the service of others. The purpose of our life is not a solitary path, but a network that connects with the community, with all those around us. To live fully is to give the best of ourselves to others, and in that act of generosity, we find true abundance, both materially, emotionally, and spiritually. This continuous flow of giving and receiving is what creates a cycle of mutual enrichment, where everyone gains by collaborating to uplift one another. There are three fundamental elements that we must understand and live by in order to apply Dharma law. First, we must recognize that our existence has a higher purpose. Beyond our everyday circumstances, we are spiritual beings on a journey of self-discovery that goes beyond the tangible. Second, we must identify our unique talents. Sometimes we underestimate our abilities or consider them insignificant, but every talent has infinite value when used for the greater good. It doesn't matter how small the talent seems. What matters is how we use it to improve the lives of those around us. Finally, we must commit to action. Having a talent is not enough. We must ask ourselves daily, how can I use who I am to help others? By doing this, we are not only fulfilling our mission, but we are creating a meaningful life. A practical way to begin applying this law is to take an inventory of our talents and abilities, without judging or comparing them to those of others. The key is to recognize them as an essential part of who we are, regardless of their size or appearance. Then, we must look for ways to use those talents to improve the lives of those around us. This process not only transforms others, but also transforms ourselves. When we engage in this search for meaning, our lives are filled with purpose and authentic fulfillment. In that moment, we connect with something much greater than ourselves, and our existence takes on a new dimension of abundance, both inner and outer, a flow that allows us to live fully, fearlessly, and with total freedom. The universal mind is an incredibly powerful, precise, and omnipresent force, capable of analyzing and responding to the infinite events occurring in the vast universe. From the subtlest movements of subatomic particles to the gigantic trajectories of galaxies, this infinite intelligence is present in everything that exists. It is not just an abstract intelligence that unfolds on a distant or inaccessible plane, but something deeply rooted in the very nature of life itself. Something that expresses itself in every atom, every living thing, and every interaction. This universal intelligence is the very basis of everything we experience, the invisible force that organizes and guides the events of the cosmos. Every corner of the universe, every being, is a manifestation of this universal mind in action. The fascinating thing about this principle is that, although it is in everything, it not only affects the grand and the far away, but also has a direct impact on our daily lives. It connects us to something much greater than ourselves, and invites us to live with a deeper awareness that we are being guided by a higher intelligence. This understanding can be transformative, as it offers us the possibility to make conscious decisions, knowing that even in the midst of the uncertainty and complexity of life, we are not alone. We are participating in a cosmic process that transcends us, but at the same time, actively includes us in its flow. However, the challenge of making decisions arises when we are faced with so many options and the fear of being wrong. Uncertainty becomes a constant. But this is where self-knowledge plays an essential role. The more we know ourselves, the clearer the path towards which we should be heading becomes. This process of self-discovery is not only a way to understand our own motivations or desires, but it also connects us to the deeper truth of our existence. It allows us to discern more accurately what is authentic to us, what resonates with our true nature. This understanding, then, guides us to make decisions that not only benefit us on a personal level, but also promote the well-being of others. For by helping in a selfless way, without making others dependent on us, we contribute to a positive flow that benefits not only those around us, but also attracts more joy, abundance, and peace into our own lives. Living with purpose, then, requires recognizing that we are part of a journey much larger than ourselves. Although this journey is unique to each individual, we all share the need to find meaning and direction. At first, the path may seem uncertain or full of obstacles, but with the constant practice of self-understanding and the application of spiritual principles, we become more comfortable and secure in our own lives. Learning is a continuous, non-linear process. Each experience, each challenge, becomes an opportunity to deepen our understanding, to grow, and to get closer to our true nature. This process never ends, and it is precisely this constant moving forward that allows us to discover new dimensions of our being and our ability to positively impact the world. This is why it is crucial to apply the 7 spiritual laws of success in our daily lives. These laws are not simply abstract rules, but fundamental principles that help us align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe. By living by these laws, we can experience a more harmonious, fulfilling, and meaningful life. Whether it is the law of pure potentiality, which reminds us that our essence is an infinite source of energy and creativity, the law of giving, which connects us with others, or the law of detachment, which teaches us to let go of what we cannot control. Each of these laws offers clear guidance for living with more purpose and less resistance. Applying them not only helps us achieve our goals, but allows us to live with greater awareness of our connection to everything around us. When we feel lost or doubtful about the path we are taking, a profound question can help us redirect our focus. If money were not a concern and you had all the time in the world, what would you do? This question has a revelatory power, for it invites us to look beyond external pressures and connect with what really matters. If, in answering it, we realize that we would continue to do what we are doing now, we are likely already on the Dharma path, acting from genuine passion, aligned with our deepest purpose. This is a sign that we are in harmony with our essence and manifesting our talents in a unique way. And if we also practice the act of giving without expecting anything in return, we will begin to see how our life is filled with abundance, progress, and meaning. This journey of self-discovery and connection with the universe is not something that is achieved in a linear or one-time fashion. It is an ongoing experience, a process that unfolds with each step we take. Each moment brings us closer to understanding our purpose, and with it, to a fuller and more meaningful life. By accepting that everything is interconnected and that every action has a purpose greater than ourselves, we find the freedom to live without fear and with the certainty that we are exactly where we need to be. Everything you desire is already there, waiting for you to stop holding on to the old and open up to the new. Life is not about fighting the current, it's about learning to flow with it. Now you know, when you let go of control, when you trust the process, doors open and what seemed impossible begins to happen. The next step is in your hands. Dare to let go, to trust, and to allow life to surprise you. Don't keep waiting for the perfect moment, because the moment is now. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And tell me in the comments, what is it that you need to let go of today to start living with more freedom? I read you, and thank you for being here. Your time is valuable, and it means a lot to me that you've dedicated it to this content. Until next time.